evening and welcome to ET Now Startup Central, India's first and only daily show dedicated to startups, technology and entrepreneurship. I'm Chandra Shrikant coming to you live from India's startup capital, Bengaluru. For the last few days, we've been bringing you all the action from the ET Startup Jury Awards, the jury meeting of the ET Startup Awards for 2018. We were not allowed to disclose the names till this evening, but we can finally tell you about all the winners of this award that's fast becoming the Oscars of Startup Inc. in its 4th edition. Let's take it then to all the winners of the ET Startup Awards across 8 categories. We will be playing them one by one, and of course the one that everyone looks forward to, Startup of the Year for ET Startup Awards 2018 goes to Oyo, founded by Ritesh Agarwal. Now, Oyo, remember, is a budget room aggregator, but they have forayed into categories such as townhouse and others. More importantly, they have expanded into China in the last year. They are in fact an example of a very rare Indian enterprise that's forayed into China. They are already boasting a big scale there. So that's Oyo for you. We are going to bring in a conversation with Ritesh Agarwal in minutes from now. But on to the next category, and the next category that we have on screen for you is the Midas Touch category for the best investor, and that goes to Subrato Mitra of Axel. Now, Subrato Mitra, remember, led the earliest investment in Flipkart, and Axel really saw a blockbuster exit this year, because from a total investment of about $100 million, they stand to gain at least $1 billion from the mega Flipkart Walmart deal. So that's Subrato Mitra of Axel for you. Who do we have next on screen? I'm going to ask my PCR to fire the next category. Okay, up next we have the ET Woman Ahead Award. This is usually given to a woman entrepreneur, and the winner is Rashmi Daga, the founder of Fresh Menu. Now, this is in the very hyper-competitive food tech space. So clearly Rashmi has been able to carve a niche for herself. That's why she's been given this award. So the next award goes to Rashmi Daga of Fresh Menu in the ETFP Woman Ahead category. The next category is going to be for the Comeback Kid, and that award goes to Grofers, again in the hyper-competitive online grocery space. Now, this is basically for a startup that's been able to reinvent itself, adapt to changes, and remember, Grofers actually pivoted from an aggregator model to an inventory-led model. So I guess that's worked for Grofers. Now, the next winner is the ET Top Innovator, and that goes to Sictuple's Rohit Kumar Pandey. Sictuple does some very groundbreaking work in leveraging AI and healthcare, and you know how this can impact the diagnostic space going forward. Sictuple has been funded by the likes of Axelor, IDG, Axel and others. Some of its early investors include the likes of Sachin and Vinny Bansal of Flipkart. Away from Sictuple to Social Enterprise Winner. As the name suggests, this is for a startup that's making a difference in society, and the winner this time is Drishti Eye Care. Now, Drishti Eye Care leverages technology to provide eye care at a low cost to rural areas that otherwise cannot afford such services. Drishti Eye Care has been funded by the likes of Lok Capital and as well as Nandan Nilekani. So that's Drishti Eye Care for you, winner of the ET Social Enterprise Award. The next winner for the ET Bootstrap Champ winner. Now, this is for a startup that's managed to scale up minus any external capital, only using its own resources. And the winner in that category this year is Tredence, which is in the area of data analytics. They are present in Bengaluru as well as Bay Area, and some of its founders include Shubh Bhaumik, Shashank Dubey and Sumit Mehra. Interestingly, they were with Mu Sigma before they branched out to create Tredence. The final category then is the ET Best on Campus winner. This goes out to a startup that's been incubated in a college campus. And the startup that's won the award this time is Skylark Drones, which was founded by Mugilantiru Ramasamy as well as Mrunal Pai. Now, Skylark Drones was founded in the campus of RV College of Engineering right here in Bengaluru. They leverage drones to provide data to diverse sectors such as mining, agri and others. So those were the 8 winners of the ET Startup Awards. But of course, the most sought after award is Startup of the Year. And time to bring on board then Ritesh Agarwal, who joins us live from Gurugram, from OYO's headquarters, right here on Startup Central. Ritesh, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Your first reaction to winning the ET Startup of the Year award?
Thanks for having me with you over here, Chandra. It's an incredible honor, but before I talk about that, OYO, of course, I just wanted to make sure that I correct that OYO is now evolved into being a full stack hospitality company from either fully franchised or operated assets. We don't do the aggregation side of business anymore for the last couple of years. I think speaking about this honor, Economic Times in ET is probably one of the most revered names in the business side. But in the last few years, it's also been one of those places where entrepreneurs and startups go to potentially seek inspiration. So receiving this award from ET is an incredible honor. It's a testament to the amount of effort that each of our OYOpreneurs put every day to make sure that our millions of customers continue to have a great quality of experience. It enables us to push forward every day to do more.
Right. Ritesh, my bad for calling you an aggregator. I guess old habits die hard, but I do know that you have pivoted to a fully managed inventory-led model in the last few years, and some of your forays into realty are quite fascinating. I'm sure we're going to touch upon that during the course of this interview. But the citation for this award itself says that the award has been given for establishing OYO as a major hospitality chain with its expansion in India as well as overseas, particularly in China. So, a recurring question that I kept asking every jury member in the run-up to this award selection was, will you look at Bharat-led models? Will you look at startups solving the Bharat problem? But they actually looked at a startup that was going international, that was looking at execution at scale. What does this really say about OYO's ambitions going forward? Is China going to be your second biggest market after India perhaps? You've already scaled there at a fairly significant pace. You're present in 26 cities. And as one of your early investors, Shailendra Singh, said in a tweet today, you're perhaps one of, the rare startups that dare to scale the Chinese wall. So where does it go from here?
So look, I think OYO was started with a fairly novel mission. There isn't an OYO kind of company across the world that started before us. Our mission was fairly straightforward. Hotel chains worldwide are 110 rooms or larger, but there are so many of these small assets. If you're able to manage them and operate them well, we felt we could go in and enable the small neighborhood hotels go and beat the big guys. So that's essentially what we started with. And we are lucky that India was the place where we enabled this innovation. Today, we manage roughly 5,500 assets across India with over 110,000 rooms under management. But what's interesting is that the same model found first interest in Malaysia a couple of years back, and we saw significant progress. Since then, I think we continued learning from that market as to what challenges or opportunities do international conditions bring for us. One of the things at OYO that we are very proud of is we call ourselves restlessly patient, which means, patient and restless at the same time, which means that we are patient until we know how something works. But once we really know how something works, we are able to restlessly execute that at scale. So we spent a couple of years being very patient and learning what the playbook of the model from Malaysia should be. And once we knew how it would work, China is a market which has incredible opportunity. Consumerism is at its highest. There are 32 million unbranded rooms out there. It is probably one of the largest markets for both Starbucks and KFC, which are leading franchisors. So we felt as a potential leading franchisor of hotels across the world, it made absolute sense for us to consider and look at China as a market. We first started there in November of last year, but happy to share that today the last announced number that we announced 2 months back was 11,000 plus rooms in over 28 cities in China. I don't want to comment on the specific numbers now, but suffice to say that it is growing pretty aggressively, which is a testament to the fact that great quality products, no matter where they're created, whether it is US or India or anywhere, they get accepted in any part of the globe if they solve a consumer's and an asset owner's problem.
And interestingly, Ritesh, one of the jury members who selected OYO was MakeMyTrip's Deep Kalra. A few months back, OYO was viewed as a significant rival for MakeMyTrip, at least in the online hotel booking space. And this is what he said about OYO. He said, he brought in the point about how audacious it is to go to China, that it's the Great Wall of China and no one has done it. So, he's given the credit there. Then he says there's also the factor of age, and he says OYO 2.0, the execution has been great and the reviews have improved. So what has really changed in the last 1 or 2 years? Any changes that you've made in terms of putting a leadership team in place or execution wise that's earning you praise from a rival?
Sure. No, first off, Deep's, regardless of what the perception was or what our business partnership was, he's remained a great friend and supporter of OYO all throughout. So I'm of course thankful to him for the kind words. But the 3 broader things that I want to touch upon. The first one, which was of course reported in multiple publications earlier, even on ET, is that how OYO has really invested on its management team. I'm very lucky to be partners with 11 exceptional CXOs and leaders of OYO, who all come from varied backgrounds, all the way from 2 people being from Harvard Business School to some 3 to 4 people being entrepreneurs earlier, to people being in FMCG, consulting and various backgrounds. But among all of this, what we've been able to do is in the last 4 years, not a single CXO has left OYO and its mission at any point of time, even though everyone is a vintage of 3.5 years or above mostly. So I think great companies which aspire to create a big impact need a great management team who are committed to the mission and are there in the good and bad times and not just in the good times. So I'm very lucky to have a management group that works together with a singular sense of mission. The second thing is also about the audacity. I think audacity in itself is actually futile. Audacity coupled with competency and management bandwidth can make a big difference. So I am being very thankful that our company has believed from day one that every overnight success is at least a 5 to 10-year-old story. So everything that you see today, the work actually started on this in 2016 when we really started investing in converting OYO into a full-scale hospitality company. That has ensured that customers have continued to fall in love with us. In fact, today 95% of our revenue comes from either repeat or customers due to word of mouth. We only advertise for 5% of our customers. Rest of them just get to know about us from their friends, others they just come back. So I feel these are a couple of reasons what I attribute some of our OYO 2.0 reinvention to. And that's what is linked to management, right? I think if the management is well knit and has a singular mission they're focusing on, I think the company will eventually evolve and make sure that they service the customer in the best manner possible.
Ritesh, if I look at the breakup for OYO, in these 4 years or 5 years, your strength has been in the budget hotel category, say the sub 2000, sub 1500. It's also, you know, heavily discounted. But now are you seeing more interest from customers coming into some of your premium offerings? If you can give us a sense of the mix now, how will this change, and you know, the impact that this will have on your unit economics going forward?
Sure. No, I think I'd like to begin by talking a little bit about, we'll break it down into two parts. One is about the consumerism and how the consumer behavior is evolving, and the second part is broadly economics. I think in terms of consumer behavior, we are seeing something very interesting. The first part is India still remains a very large mass market, but what is important to remember that the mass market expects the best. Indian customer doesn't say that if they get lower price, they're actually okay with, just okay products. They expect the best product. So OYO in the sub 2000 category with our brand OYO Rooms has continued to ensure that we give a product quality of 2500 to 3000 in a price that is less than 2000. So that is continuously growing, and we continue to see more and more customers use this. Having said that, as you know, India's GDP continues to rise. Young people in India are continuing to increase their income, and more than that, they continue to become more aspirational. So we launched our brands like OYO Townhouse, OYO Home, and a few other brands over the last year in multiple categories, and OYO Townhouse being the most prominent of them in the mid-scale offering. What is interesting is a combination of all of these brands are today already close to 15% of OYO's revenue and growing as we speak. So the mix continues to show interesting progress for our mid-scale brands, but that's happening at a time where the rest, which is the economy product, is also growing quite rapidly. It is actually the fastest growing category in the company even today. So we see in summary, one, great amount of new customers wanting good quality living spaces in the sub 2000 price point. And second, a lot of customers who have experienced us in the less than 2000 rupee price point, either moving completely to the above 2000 to 4000 price point, or using townhouses for leisure purposes if they travel for business with OYO Rooms, or for business purposes if they travel on leisure with OYO Rooms. So that's been very interesting. Speaking about the profitability, I think generally speaking, what I'm very proud about is the efficiencies that we've invested in. OYO has internal technology systems like Krypton, which ensure low cost of management, like Orbis, which enables us to predict how to sign the lease of a hotel within 10 days, or even transformation by means of which we can do wiring, piping, ceiling, flooring, interior design, furnishing, etc. of an asset in just 20 days or lesser, one of the fastest in the world, courtesy our 300 OYOpreneurs who are interior designers and civil engineers. So I feel because of this efficiency, OYO Rooms and our mid-market brands are actually broadly similarly profitable, which means that even though OYO Townhouse enables great increase in profitability, it doesn't mean OYO Rooms is any less profitable. It is actually equally profitable.
Right. Ritesh, final couple of questions before I let you go. There's a lot of buzz about an upcoming round of funding of about $300 to $500 million led by Tencent that's going to value you at $2 billion. Is that going to be the next milestone for OYO? What can you tell us at this point?
So, two things. First off, we are very lucky to have a great group of shareholders and a big mission. So the company is growing faster than ever before. We are growing at more than 3.5 times. We are able to operate at significant take rates. Our take rates have gone from negative to 13% last year to this year operating at 22% plus. Which is a store level profit, net of customer discounts, supplier subsidies and so on. So if you remove all of it, we are able to make sizable take rates. So from our perspective, given the high quality of execution and economics OYO operates with, and the sizable balance sheet of $230 million plus our company has, we feel very good about where we are. So from our perspective, number one, our big mission or the milestone is continuing to make a big impact. So that is achieving 180,000 rooms in Oyo, India alone by end of this year, and a very sizable number in China. I'm sorry, unable to put a specific number, but you'd be very proud of Oyo when you get to see the progress that we make by December. Speaking about valuation and the fundraise, as you know, very hard for me to comment on any specific capital raise, but all I can tell you is companies that are making a big difference, growing fast, and continue to operate with solid economics, there will always be high level of interest in those companies, and I believe same goes for Oyo.
Right. We will be tracking your progress by December on where you stand in China, and you have given us a number for India as well. So on that note, Ritesh, congratulations again on winning the ET Startup of the Year, and we hope to meet you in person in Bengaluru when you're here to receive that award. But thank you so much for joining us live on Startup Central and taking us through all the key milestones and what we can expect in future. But on that note, time to take a very quick break on this edition of ET Now Startup Central. But come back because we have two more important voices for you, Rishad, Premji as well as Kalra, who were part of that ET Startup jury. Welcome back to ET Now Startup Central. We got you one of the winners, Oyo Rooms. Time to get you views from a couple of jury members. We start off with Wipro's Chief Strategy Officer Rishad Premji, who spoke about how enterprise tech is taking off in a big way, and he said startups can potentially replace IT when it comes to brand, employment and overall impact. Listen in to what Rishad Premji had to say.
I must say I was at the Startup Awards 4 years ago when I think it was the first one, and it's remarkable to see how many companies have matured and how they've matured, and it's remarkable to see the kind of revenue and growth companies are seeing very early on in their career. So it's quite energizing, it's quite exciting.
A lot of focus, in the Indian ecosystem has been on the B2C space, but we are seeing a lot of SaaS startups, enterprise companies taking off. What do you make of this? Is this something that's exciting you as well?
No, very exciting, and it's very exciting for companies like us that deal with enterprise customers as well, that it's great to see enterprise technology and just enterprise-focused companies coming into being. I'm generally very hopeful about the startup ecosystem. I really believe that in the long run it can create the kind of sort of wealth and brand and employment that the IT services industry created for India over the last 20 years. I'm very hopeful about them and very hopeful of having the opportunity to partner and learn about more and more of the Indian startups as well.
That's going to be a tall ask for startups matching the scale of IT companies. But moving away from that to another important voice, MakeMyTrip's founder and group CEO Kalra spoke about the importance of delivering exits in India. He said they're still not enough, and the impact that the Walmart Flipkart deal has had in bringing back investors into the ecosystem. Listen in to what Kalra had to say.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here firstly. I think just the sheer list and the kind of candidates who've made it have made it a pretty tough task. It's not easy to select the winners. So I think it's going to be a very lively discussion because they're multi-dimensions. So 8 categories alone is not the key thing. Within each category, while I think ET has done a good job in trying to specify what we're looking for, not just curating, I think even defining the criteria. I'm sure, just like me, many jury members have their own point of view. So it's going to be a healthy debate. I'm always looking for companies who are there not just as startups today, but can become really good companies going forward. So I'm looking for
MakeMyTrip has managed.
Well, I'm looking for the long run. I'm looking for someone for the long run. So I'm always looking for the X factor, which differentiates the boys from the men. So I hope that we'll see some of those. I've done my research, so I am fully ready for the discussion.
The seminal event in the last few months has been, the Flipkart-Walmart deal. It finally showed that, exits are possible in the Indian ecosystem. So are you seeing a return of confidence and, LPs coming back to invest in India? Because exits was the huge issue with respect to Indian startups.
While we've had exits, we've had a bunch of IPOs. I think people like to say not enough, and they're right. So I think investors like to say we've had Naukri, MakeMyTrip, Just Dial, clearly not enough. We need many more. And now we had, of course, a mega exit in the form of Walmart, Flipkart. This definitely has given a lot of investors a lot more heart to go forward and saying, yes, there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs and startups also, I think sometimes you need an adrenaline shot. Right. So when fatigue is setting in, it's a marathon. Right. So you need someone. So things like this have definitely buoyed up everybody. So I'm very excited.
From all the voices, time to end the show with a number of the day, or number crunch as we call it here on Startup Central. The number that we have for you this evening is 10 billion. If you're wondering what 10 billion is all about, it's nothing to do with investment or GDP, but the number of trips completed by Uber so far since it was founded. Now, this is quite a landmark number for Uber to achieve. Remember, Ola, of course, is its biggest competitor in India, so we do not know the total number of trips that Ola has completed, but 10 billion is a huge number, and this is thanks to a milestone that it's achieved through operations across 21 countries, 5 continents. And remember, India too is a very important market for Uber. And this milestone comes despite the fact that it's faced a barrage of criticism in recent years because of workplace culture, as a result of which Travis Kalanick had to step down, and they then roped in Dara Khosrowshahi as CEO to really set things right. They've also fell foul of regulations in various continents and countries, but Uber still going strong there, 10 billion trips. On that note, time to end the show. I hope you liked Startup Central. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned to ET Now for more news and updates.